Welcome to my Philadelphia basement. We have a problem, a mold problem. Around 6 months ago, we tore down the back of this 157-year-old home, and I couldn't help but save some of the old lumber. The only place to store it is in the basement, and we have a moisture problem. So it's pretty common to get moisture in a basement in the Northeast. But with the renovations we've been doing for the last 10 months, the moisture problem has gotten pretty bad for a couple reasons. Problem number 1 and 2 are right here. My waistline is leaking, so every time it rains, this catches rainwater and it drips. Problem number 2, just last week, the water main supply started leaking. That's a lead line that is also going to need to be replaced, and you can see all the staining around the foundation. All this leaking has made the basement quite wet. Problem number 2 has to do with rainwater management. So we installed a new drain right there that's catching all the roof runoff, but there used to be a drain right here that has since been covered up with dirt, and the new drain's going to be over there, but for now this drain isn't attached to anything and it's the low point in the concrete. So all the water from the backyard, all the water from this little roof right here comes into the ground here and just saturates all the soil here, and eventually it gets into my foundation. I've saved a bunch of the old lumber from the original house and I want to reuse it, and I built this rack only like a month ago, but now it is all just starting to grow mold. So I guess it's really not that surprising. Moisture, humidity, plus organic material like old wood is a recipe for disaster. So I don't want to throw all this out, and it's a huge job to move it all. So I think I'm going to be a little bit more selective. I'm going to trash some of it, and I'm going to try to eliminate the mold from the boards that I want to use. There's not a lot of space in this house, so I got to try to find a place to put all this stuff. Pretty bad start. I was trying to get a nail out, and yeah, the nail won. This hammer has got a whole lot of use throughout this project, and I'm sad to see it go like this. All right, we got all the flooring and all the old siding up. Now you can see what I'm dealing with. Like, where do I put all this material? Well, I think my plan for the next few hours is just to hand sand, just to get some of this grime and dirt and mold off of this. And so now that it's a little bit cleaned out, I think I'm going to spray these with my mold killer and then just lean them all up so they can have a chance to dry out a little bit. And this is just the floor. I have a whole stack of siding to get through. Oh boy. Fair warning, we're going to be jumping around a lot this week as a lot of different things are happening. Here we are bringing in concrete to finish rebuilding the bump out that we've been working on for the past couple weeks. As you know, I don't have a truck, so you might be wondering, how did I get this concrete? Well, huge shout out to that guy Mick. He found the videos on YouTube, and he's a fellow Drexel architecture grad. But anyway, he reached out and has a truck and wanted to help. So we just got a bunch of concrete for our base here. And we also got type N mortar, which I was told in the comments can be a substitute for lime because it's a little bit weaker for the old bricks. And we also got rebar. So I'm all set tomorrow, hopefully, to form up some concrete and get it poured. But before I head out, it's already 7 o'clock and I haven't eaten dinner, and all I've eaten for lunch is nuts. That's why I've been losing so much weight. I need to get all those boards out of the way back into this area because I've got a big lumber delivery tomorrow morning, and currently I have no space for it. So This is why most people don't save materials like this. Just the number of times I've moved this stuff around trying to keep it out of the way is crazy. But for now, it'll be here until I can clean all this up too. Now I gotta get some dinner. We got a little change of scenery here. Welcome to my West Philly apartment. As you can imagine, I've been burning a whole lot of calories renovating the house, and I was actually losing a lot of weight kind of in the middle of the project because I just couldn't keep up with eating because I was too busy to grocery shop, and the result was just eating frozen dinners and PB&J and eggs. That's not very sustainable, which is why I'm really excited to work with today's sponsor, Hungry Root. Hungry Root basically becomes your personal shopper and nutritionist as they send you a great selection of meals for the week in a box just like this one. It's a great way to eat healthy because none of the food they ship will include any artificial sweeteners, preservatives, or bad things like high fructose corn syrup. In this busy time of my life, I really appreciate that most of the meals take less than 15 minutes to prepare. Take advantage of this exclusive offer, get 40% off your first box, and get a free item in each box for life. Click the link below or go to hungryroot.com and use code ChrisHeitha. That's 40% off plus a free item of your choice for life at hungryroot.com and use code ChrisHeitha. Thanks again to Hungry Root for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. It is bright and early at 8 a.m. at the house, Wednesday morning, and check out the light coming through. This is a big reason why I want all that up there to be glass. And on the privacy note, that's going to be an office there, so, you know, it's fine. And you can always have curtains or like frosting on the glass to add a little privacy, but it really makes a big difference when you have light streaming down like this. Pretty cool. This lumber delivery should be coming anytime this morning, and tomorrow the framers are going to be back to finish up some blocking, to build some soffits and boxes around our utilities. And yeah, I'm gonna have to bring in all the stuff myself. It's gonna be a task. I also got 7 pieces of 3/4 inch subfloor because we have to rip up the floor on the 3rd floor and replace it with new subfloor. Hopefully it won't take too long, but I don't want to start it until I have the plywood because I don't want a situation like this where the floor is just open on the 1st floor. Very inconvenient. All right, I think that we could maybe bring all of the floorboards that we salvaged to the 2nd floor for storage, and then we can lay out all these siding boards. Yeah, right here. So the good news, job's done. Bad news, I accidentally ordered 5 8-foot 2x4s and I wanted 50. But at least we don't have to move 50 inside right now. It feels good to have all this material ready to go. It's right behind the camera, you can't see it. But that's a lot of stuff for the walls I need to fur out. Like back here, once I finish building this bump out, I need to fur out all these walls, just the exterior ones, so I can insulate and so I can add outlets. And then I'll probably keep this wall, maybe exposed brick, we'll see. But for now, before I start working on the concrete formwork and rebar, I'm going to wrap up tidying up these boards. And it's gonna take a while. Nearly finished here. I want to just point out a few observations. For one, a lot of these boards have this white staining in the sun. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a little bit of a shimmer to it. So I think that's actually the termite treatment dripped down from the ceiling and just got on these boards, which definitely isn't a problem. If I sand these down more, maybe that stain will come out. But I also did notice there's some kind of white colored mold on these boards, whereas the floorboards had a green mold, so I don't know if that's because of different molds liking different boards. And another thing, as I'm sanding, you can see some parts of the boards just have very much deteriorated, and I'm not sure if that's from 100 years on the side of the house or if it's from the mold and the surface getting all moist and then damaged. But that too might be able to be sanded down until it gets to good material. And overall, I mean, I really like the quality of this wood. There's not a lot of knots, and there's a lot of it, so I'm excited to reuse it. Tomorrow I'll have more of the mold remediation spray. So in the meantime, I think I'll just set up all these boards so they can dry on both sides. Feeling good about these ones. They look good. Still a whole lot of wood to deal with in the basement, but I'm gonna have to just take this kind of one step at a time because it's a lot of work. We're gonna shift gears here, start working on this concrete. Yeah, once the concrete's in, I think it'll go up quick. I have all the materials I need to start the framing. I've got all the leftover siding. So, first step is to clear out all this debris. Generally, I just don't want any voids. You know, I wouldn't want to pour the concrete over top of a bunch of loose rubble, because if water gets in there and then freezes and thaws, it just cracks the whole thing apart. So I want solid concrete, and I'll probably even have rebar going into this little channel here, which I think will help tie the two pieces of concrete together. For the formwork, I'm going to use some 2x12 offcuts I have here. I don't really want to screw into the side of the concrete because leaving a hole there just leaves it, I think, vulnerable to freeze thaw damage. So instead, this side I can definitely brace to this concrete curb here, just brace it all up. And then on the left and right, I can just screw on a 2x4 across that'll hold it all tight and screw it in there. I think that'll be enough, and you know, maybe stack bricks on the right and left to keep it tight there too. We'll see how that works. To make this a little bit longer, I just got a little 1/2-inch piece of plywood, or I think it's 3/4 actually. And now it is perfectly long enough. And we're gonna have the two sides, get a mark on those, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It can actually be a little long. There's a little kind of blob of concrete here that I'm gonna have to cut around. My general strategy, as I'm working it out in my head, is just to build this kind of box, and then I'll just shim it up from underneath to get the level, and then brace it as needed. And to figure out how much I need to notch around the little debris there so I can get it tight, I think I need to have my concrete height so I know the top of the board. So I want to double check this. If I do 4 inches of concrete, that puts the top of the bolt at 7 inches, the sill plate at 4 inches, 1.5. It's just barely, you know, the nut will be all the way down on the threading here. So I could up it to like 4.5 inches of concrete. And then the other consideration, I got these little rebar feet, and those make the rebar sit basically in the middle of a 4-inch slab. So that's good. But yeah, I think I'll do 4.5 inches just because this section is, you know, 1 inch tall. So then at least over here we'll have 3 inches of concrete. So now, get a pencil. Just gonna notch out what I need to here. Now with our notch, this can go all the way flush up to the wall. Perfect. Perfect. And now, I need to hold this corner tight and get it all square and level. I think I want to, before I screw it all together, I'm actually going to do the little shims below now to get this sitting at the right height before I screw it in. I just have this shimmed up with bricks, And it's kind of nice because they're sitting in dirt. So to get it level, I can just sink that brick into the dirt a little bit. Oh, and I sunk it in a little too much. Now I got a shim. One kind of problem I'm noticing is this isn't sitting totally flush because the edge is a little bit bumpy. Yeah, I'm just gonna chisel away a little bit over here. This is the only hammer I have on the job site. I ordered a new framing hammer, but of course the other one broke. I've got this whole perimeter form mostly where it needs to be. And now thinking something like this, which will help the ends of the form from bowing out, and it'll also give me a place to stop the concrete from flowing out here. And now just one more board going across the front here. There you have it. Formwork is pretty much done. I don't even know if I need the brace back here because it's tied into this. But then again, if I pull this whole thing out, it's hard to tell. Like I could just pull this out. There's nothing holding it in. So yeah, the braces are probably handy, but the weight of the concrete kind of holds the form in place, I think. Cool. There are a ton of ways I could fill in some of the cracks at the edge of the form, but I'm on a masonry kind of wavelength, so I think we're just going to mix up some loose, kind of a dry mix of mortar just to pack into these edges. I didn't really want to use caulk or like spray foam that I have right here because that'll leave a mark on the outside of the concrete and it might be kind of hard to get off. But if I just use some cement here, it'll blend in with the concrete. It's about time I started to think about doing a little rebar here. We're definitely going to have to cut some of this down. Yeah, just make a nice little lattice here. All right, I'm going to try to get this concrete done today. It's 4:11, so it might be a long day, but it would be very satisfying if I got it done. So one thing I want to try here is adding this Cicadur adhesive. This is something that just helps bond the two pieces of concrete together, and it's stuff I have left, so I might as well use it. Now I'll just do my best to spread this around. Hopefully in this warmer weather, it'll only take like 30 minutes or so to get tacky. You have to wait a little bit for this stuff to dry before the concrete goes in. I've waited like 45 minutes or an hour for this stuff to dry a little bit, and I think we're ready to get started on the concrete. And I've got 3 big buckets of water ready to go, so let's crack it open. Some gloves, and of course a bag of concrete, if I can get out here. Okay. Oh, whew. Oh, mixing up concrete is a sweaty job. That is for sure. But check it out. Got ourselves a little concrete here. Now I just need to wait until it sets a little bit, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, until I install the anchor bolts. And it is 6:30. I don't know when we're getting out of here, but at some point. All right, should be all ready. Start some framing tomorrow. Good morning. It's Thursday. Our concrete has cured enough to get rid of the formwork. Very excited to do that. But before I do, I want to show you what the framers are going to be working on today. There's a bunch of little things for them to wrap up. It should only take a day, hopefully, but that is why we have all this lumber in the middle of the house. Let me show you real quick. We need blocking under both of these stud packs. We also need blocking at the top of this one to create a continuous load path. We need to box out all these utilities and also box out that one. Here we need to tighten that bolt, and we're also missing some nails up there. We need blocking at the seams of the plywood, blocking on a few rows of joists there, blocking there. We also need mid-span blocking right here. In the second floor bathroom, we have to soffit out all these vents above. We need to box out this duct in the closet. We need to frame out a wall tight to the shower pan here, and not for utilities, but just for design, I'm gonna lower the ceiling of the shower. We need blocking up at the bay ends of the rafters and also at the mid-span. Last but not least, we need to finish up this hold down. You can see currently it is not doing anything. With that out of the way, it's time for one of the most satisfying tasks, which is taking off formwork from new concrete. I also got a new hammer that is unlikely to split in half anytime soon. Getting these pressure treated sill plates ready. A couple things to mention. One, I'm using 2x6 because of Philadelphia's energy code. You need a certain amount of insulation, so I can't use 2x4s, which for something so small like this, I would think to use 2x4s, but 2x6s, we lose a little space, it's whatever. Two, if you're wondering, I don't really mind this curb that's coming up, just because this is gonna be a cabinet in here. I can just put some membrane down or shims or whatever and cover this with plywood, and it'll be the base of the cabinet, which typically you have like a 4-inch toe kick on your cabinets, and the base of the cabinet's elevated anyway. So that's not a big deal. And three, for the framing, I decided to frame it in place as opposed to building the whole wall and then standing it up. And that's just a matter of the space I have to work in. This alley is so narrow, I don't think I can frame a wall like 4 feet wide, and the backyard's full of trash. So it'd be hard to frame back there. And anyway, doing this myself, it's a lot easier to put all the little materials into place and secure them as opposed to making something really heavy. Then maneuver it over these anchor bolts and get it in place. That just seems a little bit harder, but technically it would be faster, but I think we can manage with this. All right, I think I'm going to get these sill plates in place just so I know exactly where the next one goes in so I can locate the bolts. We did this before on the other concrete we did, but basically you just got to line it up and then indent the bottom of the plate to know where to drill your hole. And this one over here is not ideal. As you can see, it's like all the way towards the end of this sill plate. So I am actually considering running this sill plate long. That might be a good idea, you know, because then this bolt is closer to the end. This one's right in the middle. Dang, I already cut these. All right, so it's enough room to clear the bricks, just barely. But the problem is that's a little under 6 and that's 5.5. It's pretty close. This anchor bolt back here is a problem because I'd want to have a stud right here. That's not right. Perfect, perfect. All right, so it fits on that side. Super tight there, but that works. I think that could work. Such a small little structure I have here. After a few adjustments and a few cuts, I think we're ready to go. I didn't forget about the sill seal. We got it right here. Next step, we got to get the height of our studs. For ceilings, you need R49 insulation, which is 16 inches. So I know at least I want to be 16 inches to the top of the roof. Brings us to there. But the roof probably framed with 2x6s. I wonder too if there's a way, would be pretty cool if you had like pull down storage up in the cavity in here. I don't know how that could be done, but could be really cool, like on counterweights, and you like pull it down, slide it back up. So that might be fun to have a little bit of cavity up here. Let's just do 16 up to around there. 2 inches above 7 feet, 86 inches. We're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, studs are cut. I think while I'm at it, I'll cut the top plates too. We're pretty much at the point now where we can get this all plumb, start our sheathing. To make sure no moisture wicks up through the plywood, I'm gonna put these shims underneath so the plywood would be up by like 1/8 of an inch. Now that I'm starting to get this sheathing on, I need to square everything up. And if the bottom and top plate are the same and the studs are in the right locations, even if at first it's not square, I should be able to rack it and put the plywood on to make it plumb and square. But I've been investigating and something was off, and I finally figured it out. For whatever reason, the sill plate is 39.5 inches and the top plate is 39 inches. So that was just a mistake on my end. Not too bad though. I just need to, up at this double top plate, this is holding the walls to each other. There's 2 nails here that I need to cut, and then I can shift this out by 1/2 inch, and that should make everything right again. I got it fixed here, and this is the result of a mistake, just 1/2 inch short on either side. But this, not a huge deal. I'll just fill it up with spray foam so there's no air leakage, and over here, I don't know that it really matters. Now that I have the bottom of the plywood in place and got to double check I got it level, then I can use this to make sure everything else is square. Based on how I got this plywood in, the edges are lining up really well. We're at the point where we can start thinking about this roof. What I'm thinking is we're gonna have, this is the top of the walls, and then we're gonna have we have the double plate up here. This is kind of a side view. If we do a 2x8 right here, and then a 2x6 flush on the top with a little bird's mouth, so I got to figure out the slope and these angles. I'm going to draw out these roof rafters to scale to be able to have some type of template. Well, it's nothing fancy, but we have our template here. Basically, this is the top of the slope of the roof. Instead of a bird's mouth, I just cut this flat, so the soffit will be flat instead of continuing that pitch. This side has a slight angle so that it meets up with a vertical 2x8, and the front also is angled to be just vertical, not to the slope of the roof. Hope that makes sense. I'm gonna cut some 2x6s like this, see how it works out. We made some good progress on the framing, but not entirely happy with it. I kind of made some mistakes and then it was like too late to fix them. So one is, you can see the gap's real small there and the gap's a little bit bigger there. So this whole thing is not quite plumb by maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And this side is kind of the same, where it's small there and the gap gets bigger. The other thing is, just in general, this side, the gap's a lot smaller than on this side. And visually, that's pretty apparent when you see the line of the brick and the line of where the drywall will be. So I think I'm gonna have to shim all this out, and I might even shim to make sure the drywall like reads as a straight edge against the brick. So kind of just made more work for myself, but I think we can get it right. It's Friday. The plan today is to get the Den's glass fire protected sheathing onto the plywood. We need to finish the plywood and hopefully get the roof on as well. I'm gonna do my best to get a whole sheet of this 5/8 inch Den's glass material up on this side. It's kind of easier to just get it up and then trim it down later. That is kind of the plan. Oh gosh. Yeah, I can't get my fingers around it, but I have an idea. It's a pretty simple idea. It should be effective. Just getting some screws in at the base of this sill plate that'll give myself a little ledge. So the reason we need this Den's glass is because this is within 5 foot of the property line, so it requires a 1-hour fire rating. The brick just naturally has that, but the plywood and stuff needs an extra layer. And also the gap between these two also is going to need to be protected from fire. So I have this expanding fire block spray foam to seal that gap. And of course, you know, obviously for insulation, I don't want a big gap, but the gap's kind of intentional to give room for this foam and also to not have contact between the wood and the masonry. Now it is time for the roof. Got to cut this back, mark a line, use the saw. Really glad that I have some leftover roof paper here, this tiger paw from Paragon Exterior when they did the roof. And I'm gonna do this just the last thing today, because there's rain over the weekend and it will just give a little protection to the OSB. That'll keep me a little bit dry for now. Some good news to end the week. The framers were able to make it today and they wrapped up a lot of the miscellaneous little framing to be done, although there's still a lot that I'm gonna have to do. And if you're wondering, the reason why I'm doing, it seems like, a lot of the framing is because there's a scope of work that you agree on in the beginning of the project, and then I changed my mind, I wanna add stuff. We had to rebuild the little, you know, bump out there, and that wasn't in the original scope, so I'd have to pay the framers more if they were to do it. And that's why I'm doing the framing that I'm doing, and I'm doing it because I want to, and it's fun to learn. But anyway, let's see what we have here. On the first floor, I'm not really happy with how they did this. There's like 3 inches out from where the duct actually is, so I might be redoing that, we'll see. Some of the bigger framing is in these bathrooms. We got the soffit framed to fit our vents for both the washer dryer that'll be over there, as well as the bath fan here. And they also framed out this window situation, so it's a nice deep sill. A little bit of framing in the closet. Again, I think maybe we could get rid of these and have the drywall flush here to save space, and then it would have to bump out here where it gets boxed for some more HVAC here. I also have to definitely verify that the stackable washer dryer I get can fit in this space. Moving on to the third floor. Oh, ignore Morgan taking a nap, but we have more of the same situation here, boxing this out for a deep windowsill and also a 6-inch soffit, which this actually wasn't really required to do, but I like the idea of kind of framing out the shower opening, and having a smaller shower keeps the steam in, makes it cozy. So that's it for the week. And I've said for the past, I don't know, 4 videos, I've been kind of taking a break, but this was the first week that I feel like I got a substantial amount done. I'm really happy with the progress downstairs on the bump out. It's looking a whole lot better than it once was. So as always, thanks for watching.